You are mute, Siwan.
You're muted.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2020-2021 MSU Presidential and Vice Presidential Debate hosted by the Marinopolis World Review. My name is Shen, and I'm the Marinopolis World Review Executive Editor of Mari News. Before we begin, I hope that all of you are safe and doing well. Due to the still ongoing COVID pandemic, this debate is taking place via live stream in order to ensure social distancing and everyone's well-being. We will begin the debate with general questions for the candidates, followed by questions directed to the slates and to a specific position or candidate. Finally, we will end the debate with an audience members Q&A sessions. We'll have a candidate Q&A session before that. Audience members can submit their questions throughout the debate via the comment section on the Facebook stream. We ask the candidates to please respect the speaking time, as you will be cut off if you go over the limits. I will give you a sign when you have 10 seconds left. Please be respectful towards each other. And let's begin with an opening statement from the candidates. In this message, candidates will give their name, the position they are running for, and who they are in slate with. You will have 15 seconds. We're going in alphabetical order. So let's start with Anlin.
Hello, Marinopolites. My name is Anlin Argurescu, and I'm running to be your next vice president alongside Pratham Mehta. Our platform focuses on sustainability, community, and we can't wait to present it to you tonight.
Thank you. Next, Neil Joe George.
Hi, my name is Neil. I'm running for vice president with Holly as on my slate with me. Our main ideas would be transparency and to give you a voice for everyone, to give a voice to everyone in Marinopolis.
Thank you. Next, Holly.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Holly, and I'm going to be running for president alongside Neil, like he said. And really, like Neil said, this campaign is all about you. We're so excited to have you on our team if we get elected.
Thank you. Pratham.
Marinopolites, hey, what's up? My name is Pratham, and I am running to be your next president alongside my good friend Anne. And as she said, our three core values for our platform is community, sustainability, and transparency. Can't wait to have this debate. Thanks.
Naf and Fei Yang.
Hello, I'm Fei Yang. I'm running to be your next president as an independent candidate. I'm advocating for a revitalization in normacies of CGIP and most importantly, minority right and AAPI rights.
Thank you. So let's begin with the questions. Now, this one can be answered as a slate. When you have 100 priorities, you have none. So what is the main idea of your platform? What are you prioritizing and how will you make sure that is prioritized? As slates, as a reminder, you will have the option of choosing one or both candidates to speak. You will have 60 seconds to speak in total. And let's start with Pratham and Anne.
I'll go first, and we're going to answer in slates. Anne and I both adore the vibrant life, vibrant student life at Marinopolis. You folks are actually are organizing so many events, charities, and so on. And being the external affairs, I am aware of what's happening in other CGIPs, and let me tell you, our participation is up the roof. Despite that, I am aware that for some students, there are still many caveats in the road for obtaining this student life at Marinopolis, such as caveats such as on communication with teachers and administration, mental health issues, lack of socialization. And we, Anne and I, are here to ensure that those issues will be fixed as soon as possible, so we have a good Marinopolis experience.
Our platform truly focuses on inclusivity, and that's why it is so comprehensive. We believe that on the president's side, the most important issue that we want to tackle is transparency and communication with the administration and teachers. And on the, yep, is that 10 seconds or?
10 seconds.
All right, got it. And then for the vice presidency, it's enhanced student life and increased participation in club events. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, Holly and Neil.
Yeah, for us, our huge priority is going to be really communicating with the students and bringing you guys back into Congress where you guys belong, because I know that there's been a huge kind of disconnection from congressional activities felt by a lot of students in Marianopolis. And I understand that this is because it's online, but at the same time, this is your CEGIP as well. We need to start putting more surveys in to make sure that your ideas are heard among teachers and the deans. And, you know, it's like we have to really come together and raise our voice up as one. So I really all about communication and about getting that kind of relationship with the whole entire student body. And this is what I think that we should do.
And to add to that, I feel like there's a lack of transparency. I feel like that might have been also caused to people not getting as connected to Congress, since people would not know what's happening during Congress minutes or know what's happening with the money that is given to Congress. So we want to like show our transparency and show what's happening, and to give a transparency that's been lacking from this semester's Congress. Thank you.
Thank you. And next is Fei Yang.
Hello. My main focus of my campaign is to be adaptable as possible. As we've seen with the outline of provincial government, the higher education is still in the midst of uncertainties as we've seen forwards with the reopening of high schools. Therefore, my campaign, it's all about adaptability and respectful of different community groups within Marianopolis, as being inclusive as possible. Therefore, I have adapted plan to alleviate some of the financial stress, to renegotiate with administration regards to tuition fees. Secondly, I want to address that issues, if not possible, as being negotiated with. I want to have additional funding towards the students who is in need of financial help. And secondly, I have centralization policies that will address issues with problems of information being too scattered on the platform. And the last one is to address the issues with social injustice, which I won't bring forward later in this debate.
Thank you. Let's move on to the next question. You can still answer it as a slate. So, as we all know, Congress is always eager to organize events and provide services for the students. But news of such activities News of such activities often don't reach the ears of a large part of the student body. How do you intend to address this issue? Again, we'll be going in the same order. Let's start with Pratham and Anne.
All right, thank you so
Perfect.
much for the question. And so I'll start. This is quite the mandate of the Vice President, ensuring that events have high participation and the student life is vibrant in Marianopolis. And the current issue stems out of a fragmentation of information on a variety of platforms like Facebook, like Discord, and everything is pretty much disorganized and there's not an access. It's not inclusive to everyone. And so we want to centralize this information on a master calendar on the MSU website that's accessible to all students and that offers a snapshot of the events and activities happening on campus at any given time.
And to add on that, if you might be asking yourself, well, the MSU website is not it does not receive a lot of traction. Well, my answer is it's a matter of consistency and promotion. It's going to take some time, but with consistency, a lot of students will tend to look at the MSU website for activities, and we will allocate Facebook to Adams's Genius memes and other such activities rather than club activities. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Holly and Neil.
So similar to what like Pratham said, like people don't use Facebook as much, but I don't believe people use the website at all, which is why like I want to personally revive the app, which like I feel like it's a more useful way for people to get notifications. It's very easy, and like everyone has most Maronites have like a smartphone on them, and like if you can get a notification if an activity were to come up, it's easier for them to see than rather to like go on the website, go into the calendar page, and then look if there's anything new. So having an app to send you notifications, it gives everyone like a way to see, oh, there's a new activity, oh, maybe I should join. So I feel like we want to put everything back on the app.
Just to add a bit more to this as well, like I feel like there's an overflow of information happening on all kinds of social media pages, and like maybe on an app you could select which kinds of things you want notifications for, you know what I mean? And this could be programmed. Like we need the help of programmers. This is why like we really need people's help, and I feel like this could be a great initiative. So this is why we're all about that kind of thing.
Next is Fei Yang.
I think this issue has been addressed by my campaign focus of bringing a centralization policies, which is going to implement, which is we are going to separate both academic, socials, and miscellaneous stuff into 3 different platforms. Omnivox are exclusive for academic purpose, or either that's clubs or other a range of activities that's strictly on Omnivox. In terms of Facebook, that would be peer-to-peer tutor or just book sellings and other stuff. And in terms of creation of socials aspect, I'm going to have creations of a official Discord, which that's going to be the main social platform for all the Marinopolites to be socialized with. And by separate these 3 parts, there's going to be a clear outline for students to look at and say, hey, this one's for clubs, this one for where to get books, and this one is where I socialize. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is directed to all candidates. You may answer individually. So, do you believe that there are areas where Congress needs improvements on? And if so, how do you plan on addressing this issue? You have 45 seconds each. We will proceed in alphabetical order, starting with Anne.
Thank you so much, Siwen, for the question. So obviously, the Congress team has worked super hard to adapt itself to the current situation and offer a maximum of services and opportunities for students. Of course, as always, there are always areas that can be improved, in particular regarding communication with students. And that's mainly due to the online context of the semester. And so we plan on doing this through a student concern dashboard on the MSU website that we will regularly update following meetings with the academic dean. And so we will maintain this weekly contact with students. And so instead of cluttering Facebooks and all kinds of other social medias like Instagram or Discord, students will ask their questions on the website and see others' concerns as well. Thank you so much.
All right, next alphabetical order, that'll be Neil.
Thank you. So I believe there's a huge lack of communication between the Congress and with the students of Marinopolis, and I feel like this is problematic since the problems that are brought up to Congress are not problems that are most likely affecting most Maronites. And like I've had firsthand like experience last semester with my math, and we wanted some Congress support. I get we're not big, but it was still a majority of the class, and mostly everyone in his class that was saying that he was giving too much work. And Congress is not communicating properly, not giving enough support for problems that actually matter to Maronites, and do other things that, like, I get it's important, but I also wish that Congress were to be more helpful when it comes to problems that people at Marinopolis actually have, and it affects them on a daily basis.
Thank you. Next, Holly.
Yeah, I just feel like kind of, no diss to Congress whatsoever. I know that they're probably trying their best, but like the current platforms being used to like communicate with students, and also the kind of formulas that we have to fill out in terms of petitions and everything, they're kind of stale. Like no one likes to go through all of that, and it takes so much. There's an issue with anonymity as well, because a lot of people have issues, but they don't necessarily want to put their name next to the issue that they want to say, and like this discourages a lot of people from talking, which is why we want to start having like an anonymous type of submission box where people could give us their ideas on a regular basis so that these can be addressed like, frequently, and yet maintain that kind of anonymity where people are still feeling in confidence with us so that they won't have their identity revealed or whatever. And that's a huge thing.
Thank you. Next, Pratham.
Thank you, Siwan. Being on Congress, I first-handedly had a global view of all the things that were happening. And last semester, a big issue was exactly the math issue where a group of students were complaining about a certain teacher. And so to facilitate these discussions, I personally think that it's only through open discussion and open-mindedness that we can reach a sort of collaboration. And so that's why we intend to have student-teacher town halls once or twice per semester before any exams, where students can go and discuss their issues. And we will pave a channel for them to pave a channel for them to express themselves, to talk about exam schedules, workload, assignments, anything and everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Fei-Yang?
I think that's a good question. There's a lot of points to be addressed with, but I think the most important is how the Congress react to students' concern and the way that it's being reported right now. It's not good looking. I heard from Bromar from last interview he gave me yesterday that the longest reply has been taken for 2 months. That means there's issues go on with the efficiencies or the task prioritizations within Congress itself. I think this is some issues that we need to look forward and we need to have a clear agenda on. Secondly, I think this is important because students and Congress are dissociated mostly due to online schooling. That's why I'm planning for more engagement workshop between Congress and students. And in terms of more importantly is teacher and student engagement that need to be improved because there's a problem with academic integrity, which can be resolved through an better engagement of student and teacher. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. We have another question for candidates to answer individually. So, a split slate victory occurs when one member from 2 different slates are elected to the roles of president and vice president. In case of a split slate victory, which points of your platform will be non-negotiable and why? You have 45 seconds, and I'll start with Fei-Yang. In your case, as you're running alone, the question is really, what concessions are you willing to make should you be elected? How will you cooperate with your vice president?
I think the core value of something that I will not ever give up, it's the social injustice initiative I have started for now because AAPI rights matter, period. Minority rights matter, period. There's no negotiating all that. And any candidate who say no, I will never negotiate them. I will fight for student interest on that matter. And I want to keep moving forward to eliminate social injustice in our student within our campus itself and in a greater sense in the bigger pictures of Marinopolis surroundings community as well. That's why I will never negotiate anything related to that. But on the other terms, in terms of environmental issues and in terms of tuition fees, that's negotiable. I can negotiate with my vice president or other coordinators in terms of that matter. Thank you.
Thank you. So the question remains for the slates. Well, I mean, the candidates who are in slates. We're still, you want to start with Pratham?
Yeah, sure, why not? Let me just start by saying my platform that I conceived with on is thoughtful, and we have discussed about all possible points. But if there was a situation where there is a split slate victory, first, I am a strong follower in open discussion, so we will discuss everything out, and I'm pretty sure that with whoever I get paired up with, we will work it out. But there's one thing that I'm adamant about is the student-teacher town hall. Why? Because last semester, I know that some students went through hell. They did their own petition. They received backlash. They were living through anxious times, and I do not want this situation to reproduce in any other monopolite's life. And so for that reason, I really will insist on having student-teacher town halls once or twice per semester to discuss assignments, ponderations, and exam schedule. Thank you.
Thank you. Anne?
Yes, thank you so much, Suen. So, just to echo the words of my fellow slate member Pratham, we are running as a slate because we believe that together we can make the most efficient team, and that's why we have the most comprehensive platform. But should a split victory occur, I think that one of the main issues that I want to see addressed and I want to participate in fixing is the mental health of our student body, and that's why this semester I've started the Les Impatients Therapeutic Art Workshops, which have benefited to 30 and more students. And these were organized in collaboration with counseling service at Marinopolis and subsidized by the college. And so I believe that mental health is extremely important for a student body. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Holly, you want to go next?
Sure. So I mean, again, our promises that our things that we plan on working towards, we've really tried to make them appeal to as large of a community as possible. So I will have no problem in negotiating. They're very negotiable ideas. However, there are certain things that really have to start, like the whole submission idea of like having an anonymous submission box frequently being updated and showing the what people really want and bringing that to every meeting. That needs to happen. Like there has to be a specific thing needed for submission of ideas and complaints. There has to also be mental health initiatives, like counseling services are extremely backed up. There's a waiting list for everyone, a lot of people that really want counseling services, and we want to implement like a hotline or a chat line where people can go for more casual opportunities. And I feel like this could benefit anyone regardless of if you voted for my slate member or not, but
Thank you. Neil?
So the main issue I've had with Congress last year would be transparency. Like, it took a lot of time for people to get back responses from like Congress people. So like that would be my top priority when it comes to Congress. And like, I'm usually flexible. I'm down for compromises when it comes to other things, but when it comes to transparencies, I want to make it sure. Like, I want to make sure that everyone sees what happens. Since like I'm not there to boost my ego. Like I'm there to help people, and I want to show like what's happening, and I'm just there to represent people. I'm not there to represent myself. That's it.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the next question. Next, we will continue with questions directed towards the slates. Again, either one or both slate members can answer each question. In a world where human interaction is restricted due to COVID-19, many students are deprived of the typical CHEP experience. Should your slate be elected, how would you work to foster a sense of community and camaraderie among the student body? You will have 60 seconds to respond. And let's begin with Holly and Neil this time.
So, we have a lot of initiatives that we want to start that are really all about bringing people together. And I feel like even if there are certain social distancing measures that still have to be in place by next semester or whatever, we could still start doing things. Like we could start, for example, having our DIY thrift store / clothing swap that, respecting social distancing measures, people could come and they could shop sustainably. We want to start a gardening initiative as well, where people will be outdoors. So, there's less of a risk, and we could start planting our own food at the college and having a composting initiative as well. Like there's also the whole vibe of communication and I relate to everyone in the student body that I think we should really reinforce as well, because like I really just want to connect with people, and I feel like I would be such an open person as a president to everyone's concerns, and like I really want to bring Congress back to the entire student body to make them feel like this is also their own, because it is their own, it is their own, Marinopolis.
Thank you. Next up, a reminder that this is answered in slates. So next slate, how about Fei Yang?
Yes, I think this is very crucial questions, and my campaign promise has been addressed to us. The Why Not initiatives is to address these certain issues, that we need to have more clubs activities, and we need to bring forward to balance club budgets, to more clubs that they're deprived of budgets that they need. I've been to Mary Club, and they are a lack of budget. They only got $80 for this semester, and it's kind of sad they could not plan more activities in the further in this semester. Then we need to encourage clubs to have more funding so they can have more activity, and therefore we can bring back this CJEP experience that we're looking for. Because my campaign is all about bring back the normalities in CJEP and revitalize our experience in CJEP. Thank you.
Thank you. Pratham and Anne?
COVID sucks. We all know this, but does that mean that we have to stop our life for it? No, we are the main characters of our own life. And so for that reason, Anne and I have thought about all of our ideas being transferable from an online setting to an in-person and vice versa. Let me take you a bit more to the alumni get-together initiative that we have discussed about. Yes, it would be really funny if we can have one hall at Marinopolis for alumni come and we can discuss with them. But if the case would remain that we are still online, then there's nothing stopping us from having a virtual Zoom that like we are doing right now and discuss with alumni like Sugar Sammy online on this platform. I'll let Dan continue.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, there are high chances that we might have an in-person semester if we follow the lead of universities. So our platform is really based on adaptability and flexibility. Another project we have to enhance the sense of community is a Tinder for Skills project, which would promote an artistic campus and bring together students that have an interest in learning skills from each other, be it a special form of art, video editing, bullet journaling, room decor, etc. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, as many of you are well aware, Marinopolis welcomes a sizable majority of students from French schools each year. For this reason, we have decided to include the following question in French. Candidates are encouraged to respond to the best of their abilities in French. Comment allez-vous aider les élèves qui viennent d'une école francophone ainsi que ceux qui viennent de l'étranger à mieux s'intégrer à Marinopolis académiquement et socialement? How about this time we start with Pratham and Anne?
Sure, absolument. Alors, moi-même, je viens d'un collège français et donc moi aussi, j'ai eu la question quand je suis venue à Marianopolis de l'intégration, mais il y a beaucoup de ressources sur le campus comme le Writing Center, le centre d'écriture qui offre du mentorat avec une personne spécialisée en anglais. Puis, il y a aussi des services de tutorat. Alors, ce que nous ferions, ce que je ferais si je suis élue comme vice-présidente, ça serait de promouvoir tous ces services-là sur la plateforme du site web de MSU avec les noms des personnes responsables pour que les élèves puissent les contacter facilement. Ça serait aussi du niveau social, organiser des activités qui rassemblent les différentes communautés, donc les communautés d'élèves gradués avec le Alumni Get Together Networking Event. Et bien sûr, pour assurer la transparence des activités du congrès, ça c'est d'assurer que les rapports soient traduits dans les deux langues puis que les informations les plus importantes soient aussi communiquées en français pour préserver cette langue également qui est parlée par beaucoup de nos élèves. Merci.
Merci. Prochain, Holly et Neil.
Bon, moi, je viens de l'école de français, école Charlemagne de la Céleste. Et moi, je me suis demandé au début de l'année, comme, l'année dernière, oh, comment est-ce que je vais devenir comme, je viens de l'école de français, on a tout appris en français. Comment est-ce qu'on va comme l'intégration avec l'anglais? C'est pas si difficile qu'on pense. Il y a plusieurs personnes dans le même point que moi. Comme, même mes amis, on était tous d'école francophone. On vient d'école on vient à Marianopolis. On sait pas quoi faire. Mais tous les profs sont là. Ils sont là pour t'aider. Et si tu as besoin d'aide, tu peux demander. Tout le monde est prêt à t'aider. Comme, si tu as besoin d'aide, tu peux m'envoyer un message. Je suis prêt à t'aider. On n'est pas là on n'est pas des snakes comme ils disent des fois. On est ici pour t'aider. Et si tu as besoin d'aide, juste envoie-moi un message ou envoie un relais. On est prêt à t'aider. Et si tu as quelque chose, si tu as des problèmes ou tu as besoin de transaction, on est prêt à t'aider. Ouais.
Oui, puis je veux juste dire aussi que genre les profs de sciences font toujours comme des légendes en anglais et en français, puis des trucs comme ça peuvent être intégrés à plusieurs autres classes aussi. Fait que moi, j'aimerais vraiment comme promouvoir ça parce que j'avais de la difficulté avec ça aussi, même si je suis anglophone et tout, mais bon.
Merci. Et pour le dernier et non le moindre, Fei-Yang?
I think I'm just going to answer this question in English because I don't want
Sure.
to end up to be like Japanese sing on national televisions to be ashamed of French. I am not ashamed to speak English, but I definitely respect the French language and I respect people who speak French. And in an English speaking environment in Montreal, the most important part is about adaptability. And that's why in Marinopolis, we have lots of tutoring program and more in the sense of community that Marinopolis students are more helpful and and people who are speaking minorities and they speak, most people are bilingual. They can help more people who is French and those people can reach out or to Congress people or to reach out to the communities for adaptations and further integration into the Marinopolis learning experience.
Thank you. So for the next question, we're going back to English. The administration recently reported that academic performance at Marinopolis is at a record high after shifting from in-person to online teaching. What actions would you take to help preserve this exemplary performance once in-person teaching resumes? You will have 60 seconds to answer alone or in slates, and we'll begin with Pratham and Anne.
So effectively, it appears so that our academic standings are record high. And now, if we transition from online to in-person, it's a matter of keeping up with the good academic habits that all of us have coming in Monopolis. We know, Anne and I know that Monopolis attracts students that are high achievers, that are passionate about their things, that are not only involved academically, but are involved extracurricularly. So what we would do is to promote that same atmosphere that Marinopolis is renowned for, and we think that the transition will be done, maybe not smoothly, but it will be done with effective measures put in place in the system.
Absolutely, and keeping transparent and efficient communication between teachers and students ensures that this can be done effectively. And we will also want to continue organizing all the workshops that are happening. Thanks to the math department does that a lot. We want to continue promoting these new habits learned in online school. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Fei-Yang, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I think most importantly, because given the context of being online schooling, everyone's schedules are very different. I think we need to have a workshop to encourage students to get back to the in-person instructions schedules. And moreover, we need to provide additional support for them to be learning in persons. We need to give engagement activities for student and teacher to get better know each other, because lots of times I don't know half the students who is in my humanity class because they're all turned on the cameras. We need to plan activities to make those students know each other so we can have a better class environment when we actually get back into in-person settings. Thank you.
Thank you. Holly and Neil?
Okay, I think that we really have to recognize the elephant in the room right now. The reason why grades are probably so high as well is because of the style of teaching and the style of exams as well. Sometimes it's easy to either check homework that is graded, you could check it up, you could get answers for that. And a lot of people are relying on this as a crutch for their learning. However, yes, you maybe are learning a bit, but we have to slowly wean people off of this note, having your notes next to you and everything like that slowly. It can't be done all of a sudden, or else we're going to see a huge drop in grades. And it's just, I'm being realistic here, you know what I mean? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's just how it is. And the teachers have to also, work with students and see what kind of learning style will work for this sort of transition. And that could be done with communication, and that's how it is. Neil?
Yeah, I also want to add, it's also easy, let's not lie to ourselves. I'm pretty sure a lot of people also it's open books. So a lot of people can cheat, but I feel like it's also an easier way, since you take more time understanding the material than to actually copy paste and trying to just copy what's being told. So I feel like maybe we should try to have a more open book later on.
Thank you. This will be our last question for slates. So What do you think is the optimal balance between projects that will have immediate impact, example, mental health initiatives, student admin communication, and those with more abstract effect, such as pipeline protests and climate change, and why? Fei Yang, would you like to go?
I think there needs to be a prioritization to be addressed right now. As a recovery slowly from pandemic, we need to address the top priority things such as mental health, such as academic, such as student with financial difficulties. We need to address this first. And I'm not talking about anything related to environment that's not important. It is definitely important for a Congress or even for the student body to move on to further to advocate for environmentalism, that's for sure. But we need to look at what's happening right now. I'm a pragmatic person. I want to address student concern first, then to address abstract issues. But I'm not talking about abstract issues shouldn't be represented. It should be a levels of initiative that start up momentum to build up those initiatives. Therefore, then we can talk about what's going on with those activities and projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Holly and Neil.
I honestly think that we do not have to sacrifice, like both of those things, being long-term and being effective in the short term, have to be mutually exclusive. Like pipeline signing petitions and all that kind of stuff, it's good, but it doesn't take that much. It shouldn't be our only thing that we have going. In the college, having things like gardening and composting and all these cool events for the environment also make an impact, and it also impacts student life directly and in a fun way that people will enjoy. Things like sexual assault seminars that have to be mandatory, those things can have a lasting impact on someone that, you know, maybe didn't know that they were committing an offense before, someone that didn't know that they were a victim. This is something that can happen immediately and can, you know, have long-lasting effect. And we're not sacrificing results that are being seen. People will see results immediately and these results will last. You don't have to sacrifice fun to make a difference. You know what I mean? You know?
Yeah, and I also like the small projects and big projects. Like the thing is, problem with big projects is that the odds of them succeeding are pretty low. So that's why we should like put a little bit more emphasis on like smaller projects. So even if even if they're small, they add up. So like later on, you get to have like a more lasting impact.
Thank you. Pratham and Anne.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Suen. So I think here the difference that we have between, for instance, the examples given mental health and pipeline protests is that a mental health is an initiative that's oriented towards the student body and that concerns our college and our student body specifically. And pipeline protest is more like our external engagement. And I think both of these are important because the Congress is working for its students, it's serving its students. So we need to have initiatives that help our student body, but it's also representing our students and representing the concerns they have. And our students are integrated in the world and they care about all these concerns. So I think there's a balance to achieve in both, and that in all our projects, we have a low impact version and then a more complex developmental project. And I'll leave Pratham talk about this.
Exactly. We are our ideas are not one-time immediate ideas that we're going to do at the beginning of the semester and that's it. No, we are thriving to build systems of alumni get together every semester, systems of student-teacher town hall. And also, I want to remind everybody that Congress is a team, so we can relegate tasks. It's not one thing at a time. No, it's I'm doing this, but then this other coordinator can do this amazing project at the same time. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will have to interrupt you. Sorry. So now we will be moving on to position-specific questions. So the next question will be for presidential candidates only. The president of MSU is the face of the organization, being the primary representative and spokesperson. Describe in a few words the qualities you have that will help you fulfill this task. Holly, do you want to start first?
I just want to know how many seconds do we have?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, 45 seconds.
Okay. Well, I think as president of MSU, I would really bring a sort of relatable flair to everything because I was a really stressed out student last semester, and I'm really running right now because I want to change things for us. I want to give those people that are too stressed to turn on their cameras or too stressed to reach out a voice. Like, I'm so approachable too. I want everyone to be my friends. Everyone's like my friend. You know what I mean? It's like, I really want to relate to everyone, and I want to do my best as I can representing everybody that's part of Student Congress. Everybody. I want everybody to be represented as well as possible. And I'm organized, I'm responsible. I will do the job. I'm extremely determined, and I'm so excited to work for everyone. I just need your ideas too, So yeah. Oh, you're muted, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Pratham?
Yes, presidency is about representing people. It's about standing up for the college. It's about respecting constitution. But there's just so much more of being president. I would describe president as in order to be a good president, you have to be like water. It's a quote used by I can't remember the name right now, but you have to be adaptable. You have to be an action taker. You have to resolve problems. You have to assess the problems that arise in the student body, because the problems of today are not the same problems of tomorrow. And as a president, you're expected to be quick on your feet, to look at those problems, to spot them, and as soon as possible, resolve them with your team. When just hit me. It was Bruce Lee that said that quote. Bruce Lee that said that you have to be like water. So you have to. I would say in one word, a president should be adaptable.
Thank you. Fei Yang?
I think the most important part of being a representative of student body president is how you relate to people. I feel I'm sympathetic to people, and sometimes I agree. I use emotion excessively, but that's in a good way. I care for my friends, and I care for the student body of Marinopolis. I believe their rights, it's my rights. Therefore, I want to work for their rights, and therefore working for my rights as well as a student of Marinopolis. I want to carry on that spirit to send a message to people that we can work together by playing nice with each other. And by playing nice with each other, we can bring back a better community, as we already seen our schooling is severely suffered by online educations. Therefore, bring love, not hate.
Thank you. Did I go through every president?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry. So we have one more question for the president candidates. As president of MSU, you will have a seat on the college's board of governors. Given that the student body and administration have been at odds over mental health and in-person examinations, how do you plan on utilizing this position to defend the interests of students? You have 45 seconds to answer. And this time we'll be going in reverse alphabetical order. So let's start with Fei Yang.
I think that's a good question. And a lot of people are severely impacted by online schoolings, and there is hard change to be in campus in Block 4, Block 5. So my constituents have already raised concern about going back to in-person educations. Therefore, I will stand by their rights and keep fighting and keep negotiating with administrations in terms of that. We need to have a plan to confiscate or to have adaptability plan to move into the directions that will help students in their academic learning. Because in terms of that, we are in a CJEP where we're supposed to help a student to achieve their academic. And therefore, I would like to negotiate with administrations, and I will have a turn and plan if that doesn't work. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be Pratham.
I want to remind everyone that before going in that meeting, as a president, you really have to be aware of what you're vouching for, of what you're advocating for. And so that's why we have discussed about this idea of having a student concern board where you guys will be able to put down your concerns so that I and Anne can vouch for your rights. But then after that, it's a matter of having tangible solutions, because everybody can speak and can spot problems, but not a lot of people can come up with solutions, tangible solutions for those specific problems. And so I would say, to defend the interests of students, first I will assess what exactly are the needs of students, And second of all, with my team on Congress, I will plan a concrete, tangible plan of action so I can present it to the administration. And then through open discussion, because they are open-minded, we tend to portray them as big bad wolf, but they're not. Let me tell you that.
Thank you. And next it will be Holly.
All right. So, I mean, I've asked around a little bit to see what people feel about the in-person exams or versus the online exams. And I think the real issue here is that we have to show admin that there are two sides to the coin. And as of right now, because we're currently in a transition phase of pandemic life to non-pandemic life, we should be accepting of both views. People should, because people want the ponderation of the in-person exams, they should have that option too. We shouldn't just say no in-person exams. We should just make sure that all options are available for all students that are in different types of environments. And this way you could appeal to such a larger population of people, and also, just communicate with the admin and make them realize that like there are 2,000 students that are here and they're all in different situations. So we have to be really understanding.
Thank you. And that's it for presidential questions. Now we have a few questions for the vice president candidates only. As vice president, you are the primary liaison between Congress and club executives. Over the last year, many club executives have grown apathetic towards Congress, citing unresponsiveness and inefficiency. How will you remedy this question? You have 45 seconds to answer. And let's start with Anne.
Thank you so much, Siwen. So we hear this concern. So as a current Congress member, I do hear this concern, and I hear the voices of the student body. Students have to know, that Congress members are volunteers. They do this on their own time, and they really care a lot about students. They are students just like you, and so sometimes, stuff happens. And but there are ways to improve communication and efficiency, and one way to do that would be to allocate some time off our weekly meetings that we have, and in which Siwen regularly participates. Thank you. We would allocate some of that time to go through messages, Mayos, the student concern board, and allocate that time specifically also from our office hours to respond to messages. Thank you so much. That will make a big difference.
Thank you. Neil.
Yeah, so I've heard this complaint many times that from like fellow classmates and other execs, and I've said this in my comments. The main thing I said, I would respond in 24 to 48 hours. I don't believe that like Congress should take so long to respond. And like, I'm sorry, you're working online. I get your student, but you're on your phone. I'm sorry, don't tell me you're not on your phone or you're on your computer. You're always on your computer, and you're most likely texting your other friends. And your responsibility as a Congress is to support your execs. And especially as VPF, your job is to help execs. And if you can't take your mandate like that, then why are you even VPF? Why were you elected? They elected you to represent represent them in Congress. And if you can't do that, then why are you doing? Don't say that you're busy and all. It doesn't take much to even just give a small update. Oh, we read this, we'll get on to it. But if you're leaving them undelivered and for the whole time we're on sent, that's unacceptable.
Thank you. So, on the subject of clubs, the budget allocation for clubs in recent semesters have become increasingly unequal, with Gini coefficients rivaling that of the world's most unequal nations. A select few clubs get the majority of grants, while many smaller clubs get a pittance or even nothing at all. Although interesting initiatives to rectify this inequality have been proposed in the past, this issue was never properly acknowledged. What steps will you be taking, if any, to address this during your term? Anne?
45 seconds?
Yes.
Perfect, got it. Thank you so much, Siwen. So absolutely, this is the mandate also of the VPF, but for club budgets, there has also been a lot of surplus. So being on Congress, we have seen that a lot of money is not being used because of online activities and we're not paying for parties, etc. But something that we would do, that I would do if I'm elected as vice president, would be to keep a track of like each club's specific performance, and if they have been using their money to do activities and they need more, then absolutely we would increase their budget. And so keeping a score sheet of each club, like this individual clubs, would allow us to tailor the offer of budgets to each club and their team. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Neil?
I believe there should be like a more transparent. There should be more transparency when it comes to where like the money in club allocation goes. Like students should know, and like I get some clubs are like more popular than others, and that they would need the money so that like they can do bigger and bigger events. So that more people, it would be easy advertisement, and more people would come to Marinopolis. But I also believe that smaller clubs, like you have to give them a chance. Like it's not fair that you're starting off like with like a very like bad way. You're not giving them the money that they can flourish with. Like I know clubs like is for example the Merriman Club, right? I have no hate for them, but this semester I went through their budget. I'm sorry, what $2,000 did you get for an international trip? I don't think you're supposed to be going anywhere right now. And like there's like a great disparity when it comes to where the money goes and where it should be going.
Thank you. And that was it for the president, the vice president candidate questions, and for the position specific questions. Now I have specific questions for each slate. Again, you can choose one or both members of the slate to answer, and you have 60 seconds to speak. We'll start with Holly and Neil. As a slate that may not be as known for your involvement in student life as other slates, why have you decided to run for the presidency and vice presidency of the MSU, and how will you demonstrate your capabilities as leaders if you are elected?
Okay, I feel like it's sort of unfair as well to say that we haven't been involved in student life when we've just been doing stuff on the sidelines. We're admins of a huge Marinopolis Science Discord server where people get homework help there, they make friends there, and we started this in May for a way that people make friends, you know what I mean? We've run as well because we know the grassroots of Marinopolis, and we know the people that have never even liked a post on Facebook. We know the people that have never even looked at an MSU Instagram page. We know those people, and we know that there are many, many, many of those people. We want to represent them. We know that they're listening to us right now, and we relate to you. We want you to be on our side. Neil.
Yeah, we've done small things. Like for example, Holly has done something for Valentine's Day. Like I know MSU is doing some actions where like, oh, but the actions are like go to school. Like I don't think everyone has the capability to go to school. Like we've done small groups like online, and like anyone can join. Like we're not like discriminating against anyone. We're not limiting who can come. The limits are usually like, oh, how many people can go in a Zoom call or on Discord call.
Thank you. Next, we have a question for Fei Yang. It is a commonly accepted fact that with numbers comes strength. As a candidate running solo, how do you plan on making up for the advantages enjoyed by slates running as a pair, both during and after your campaign? And why should people vote for you and not for one of the slates?
I think I addressed the current issues here as the elephant in the room where other candidates who are not addressing, which is social injustice and minority rights. And I think current issues are very relevant, and we need to further address that to eliminate racism within educational institutions, where we need to encourage school to incorporate a curriculum that will teach minority histories such as African Canadian humanity courses or Chinese Canadian humanity courses. We need to teach those courses to furthermore to closing up the divide between different races, so we can have a much more peaceful and balancing society when we can coexist with each other, which I seen what happened last Wednesday. I'm very, very sad, and I really want to just over echoing this issues of anti-racism in our society. This is totally unacceptable. Any form of racism should be condemned, and we should be moving forward to eliminate racism in our society through the means of our MSU administrations. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Lastly, for Pratham and Anne, as current members of Congress, the two of you have extremely decorated track records of participation in extracurriculars as well as leadership. However, the past isn't always indicative of the future. Experience in Congress and extracurriculars aside, why do you think you are the most suitable candidate for the presidency and vice presidency of the MSU?
Thank you so much. We do believe that, apart from being on Congress, we've taken up a lot of initiatives on our own on the side. And Pratham will talk about what he's done in entrepreneurship. I've started, social justice initiatives that weren't in my mandate. I went beyond my mandate for causes that I care about, such as mental health, etc. And so we do believe, however, that our experience gives us special insight. We already had rapport with the administration. We have these relations that will allow us to ensure you a smoother transition. Once we come on campus, you need a team that's prepared. You need a team that knows the ropes and that's dedicated and that has proven their dedication. There's no time for mistakes.
And I'll add to this, actions speak louder than words. And yes, the past, Anne and I have done initiatives from Congress, so for Congress, but also before Congress. For instance, I was CEO of a small team of people for a social justice cause. And just to say that Anne and I have been working together for a while. We started I remember the day that Anne texted me for Circle for Reconciliation and promoting.
Sorry, but I'll have to interrupt you.
Oh,
Time is up.
No problem.
Candidates, we will now be moving on to a Q&A session between yourselves. For those of you who are watching at home, your Q&A session will be right after this. So don't forget to submit your questions in the comment section on the Facebook stream. We'll proceed with the candidate Q&A like this. Each candidate is allowed to ask a question towards a slate or a candidate. If you have an additional question for another candidate after, please let me know in the chat in our Zoom, and we will be naming you guys one by one after the first round. Slates have, when you ask the question, please state whether you're asking a candidate or a slate. Candidates have 45 seconds to respond and slates have 60 seconds to respond. There will be no follow-ups to answers, and we will start with Anne.
Thank you so much. So my question goes to Holly and Neil Slate. So I really appreciate your efforts for inclusivity and your evident passion for this topic. And you mentioned a lot today and in your platform that you want something that appeals to everyone. And you mentioned a core idea is class group chats on Discord particularly. And I'm wondering, how do you link Discord to inclusivity, since only a vocal minority of a few hundred people are on this platform? That's not very accessible and very difficult to use. So how do you plan on using Discord in an inclusive manner? And also, how do you manage on regulating hundreds of class groups?
Okay, so in that case, I think much like how SVI was taught, how people were taught how to use Slack for a lot of things, right? And it's kind of complicated to use Slack at first as well, but there were many extensive tutorials posted. They had accounts set up and it was all done so flawlessly, and I was really inspired by that model. And I figured, we have so many friends of mine and so many people out there know how to use Discord well, and we want their help to manage such a server. And at the beginning of the year, tell first year students, here we have this list of accounts that you should use. It's going to take organization, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's a really important thing that has to happen.
Not to mention like other like social media, like not everyone has a messenger group chat, messenger, and like I think there's a limit to it. And also like who wants to do on Teams? I'm sorry, like when I think Teams, I think school, and when I think school, I don't think about socializing. I just think about schoolwork. Like I want somewhere where I can relax. When I think like Discord, I think like gaming. I think of my friends that I've made sure I see you. It's like it's a more relaxing and more laid back tone that I have when I think of Discord. That's
Thank you. Let's move on to our next question. I'll ask one from Fei Yang. Fei Yang, do you have a question for any candidate or slate?
Yes, I have a question for Anne and Prath, because your campaign is focused on transparency. So you mentioned about student concern board. How are you going to make sure all these questions going to be addressed in a single meeting while we have a 2,000 and plus of students addressing at the same time? How are you going to address those questions in single meetings where there's flooded with concerns?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Fei Yang, for this question. And in fact, we believe that a student concern board is the solution because it centralizes questions. Instead of having people DM, Congress members individually and, different people taking different time rates to respond, having, a platform, and that will also help with transparency because everyone can see other people's anonymous questions. And then students can, we will have an upvoting function where students can say that they share the same concerns. And this will ensure that the same questions are not repeated twice. And it will also allow us to have a better idea of which are the most pressing, the biggest concerns that we must address. And we will respond directly on that platform. So on the MSU website, everything will be centralized there and we will respond directly as a post addendum or a post response directly to the questions. And we will do this every week, consistently following weekly meetings with the academic dean. Thank you so much, Fei Yang.
And I would like to add to that this, the system is already present. Anne and I are simply going to update it and modify it a bit to enhance it. So for people watching here, it's not going to take a lot of time to set it up. It's already there, done by our current president, Lawrence Flank.
Thank you. Can we get a question from Neil?
I have a question to the slate for Pradam and Anne. You guys talk about Tinder for Skills and Meriden. I just want to know what's the difference between your new initiatives and the Marinopolis Innovation Hub that's already on the MSU Congress website, which I'm sorry, like it already exists. So what's the difference? And since you guys were already members of Congress, you should have known that this is already there. So what are you bringing new to the table, and why are you rebranding it and not just saying, yeah, we're just going to improve on it?
Thank you, Neil, for this question. So to precise, Meriden is a pitch competition that we want to do, where at the end winners will be allocated funds. Right now, what's happening with the Social Impact Hub is that you enter your idea, and if it qualifies the criteria, we will give you funds. But we do not provide right now. There's no mentoring provided. There's no help provided. What we plan to do is to take Meriden and elaborate on a semester-wide timescale, where at the beginning, people that are interested will be paired up in teams, or you can come up with your own team. We'll provide you mentors that can be teachers, professionals in the area, alumni, and you will work closely with them. And at the end, you will have a chance to publicize your project to the entire students and also students in Montreal. And then from our panel of professionals, a select type of team will be awarded some cash prize and much bigger cash prize than what is awarded right now.
Absolutely. And Tinder for Skills is putting people together, bringing students together, and it's really different. It's not a cash prize. It's a platform for community and sharing.
Thank you. Pratham, do you have a question for anyone?
I do. Thank you, Simon. So my question goes to Fei Yang. Let me just start by saying, yeah, the concerns that you advocate for are really important, right? The Black Lives Matter movement and the recent Asian hate crime, just inhuman. It makes no sense. But at the end of the day, and these are all social issues, right? And so my question to you is, how do these issues and the things that you advocate for fit into the president mandate? Because I see it more as a social coordinator mandate. So please explain me your thought.
Just a second. Fei Yang, I know you're running alone, so it'll be 45 seconds for your answer.
I think it's more creation of a task force for the coordinator to run. It's giving a structure for the coordinator to have. I want to have a constitution to written down to have a specific proposal for schools to address these issues, which the coordinator will later take place and take my structure and my advice as a mandatory guide for them to run their own business. That's for theirs. But my plan is to solidify this in the constitutions that we need to push for better ways to eliminate racism within the education systems, because I believe this issue is big, and we are in the educational institutions that we're supposed to learn and understand each other. From this perspective, I think it's really important, involves in playing in the bigger issues of social issues like Black Lives Matter and API rights, because we need to learn. We need to learn before we can hate each other. That's why.
Thank you. And a question from Holly.
Yeah, I have a question for Anne and Pratham's slate. Les Impatients initiative for mental health, I know that's something that you guys want to continue doing as well. However, you said it yourself, it was only really used by like 30 plus students, and we do have 2,000 students going to Marianopolis right now. So do you feel like maybe there would be other mental health initiatives that would be more like effective and more widespread? Because it's very admirable. However, we have to recognize that it's pretty costly and it doesn't affect like every single student. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Holly, for your question. So, we had actually many students interested, but the service is only for 30 students at the moment. It was run as a pilot project, but we are thinking of expanding upon it next semester. Les Impatients Therapeutic Art Workshops are a mental health service in collaboration with counseling services, especially to address the long waiting list. And so it's really has to be looked at not as a recreational one-time activity, but as a mental health service, which has a cost, because as students, we cannot organize an activity and say that it will have a mental health, a concrete mental health effect. And so it has to be looked at, and its cost efficiency must be assessed from the standpoint of a mental health service. So it's similar to the COVID-19 relief fund. We're not giving out money to all students, but we are giving to those who are most in need. And so there's a screening process for Les Impatients to ensure that the most in need get the service. And of course, we want to ensure a balance between services like this, which direct to student population groups, and more social activities for the wider public. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that was one round of questions. I didn't miss anyone, right? Anne has another question. You can go.
Yes, so I think that my question is directed to the slate of Holly and Neil. So academic fairness is something that you're very vocal about and that you care a lot about. And you have many ideas, such as like regulating submission times and minimizing evaluation overlap. And so all these are goals, but what are the means? So how do you plan on achieving concretely these objectives? So what are, the programs or the initiatives you want to implement? Thank you so much.
So basically, when it comes to academic fairness, it's all about communication as well. So for things like regulated submission time, we really just need to get an overview of where the problem is and bring it to the teachers to say, here's something that you should standardize because it's causing a lot of student stress. I've heard a lot about it, and that's something that could be regulated very easily with just a couple of meetings. On the other hand, things like, exam time, we could start implementing better schedule use of the one on Omnivox, or, making new kind of meetings for teachers to meet up with each other pretty frequently and see where they're placing their evaluations and how things should go, to give them the opportunity to converse as well, and have a concrete schedule of all these things. So very simple things to do. Neil?
Yeah, I have nothing to add to that. I believe that we want to improve student life, and as a student, Holly was able to help our group of students that had our math teacher. He's not bad. He gave us an overload of work, and I believe that Holly herself, she's going to be able to talk to deans and people and the admin to help improve student life and to reduce the stress when it comes to online learning.
Thank you. Pratham has a question as well.
Thank you, Siwan. So once again, it's for you, Fayhan. So you just mentioned, right, your goal with your platform is to create a task force, and then you want to relegate that task force to the social justice coordinator. So two questions here. First, so does that mean that the social justice coordinator is obliged to follow your incentives and does not have any say of his own? And second of all, what is the primary goal of this task force? Because we are not, the Ministry of Education, so we can't really add some courses into the curriculum, because that's what I think I got the perception of in your platform.
I think firstly, I want to address that questions because in terms of task force, I want this to be solidified in the constitutions to have a group of people who have the ability to advocate for different rights of different minority groups, to have that in our school campus, which we don't have right now. And secondly, to that questions, I said I will push forward for the administration to add this. So I will have a open letter to the Ministry of Education to incorporate those courses within in our school's curriculum. That's what I'm trying to mean. I hope that clarify your concern there. Thank you.
It does. Thanks.
Holly has a question as well.
Yes, I have a question for Anne and Pratham. I mean, your town hall idea is super great. When I saw it, I thought it was really awesome. However, there's an issue there with like anonymity and the fact that during a town hall, there's gonna have to be a lot of deliberation between maybe a certain student and a certain teacher. So like, how do you plan on like regulating that or making sure that people actually want to participate in something where, they might be showing a bit more of an aggressive side towards teachers that they're actually teaching? So yeah.
So I understand. So to clarify a bit more on how the procedure will go, we're going to have time slots allotted to head of faculty members of so let's say you have the math faculty that is from this time to this, and people can come in as they want. And we're aware that, yes, the environment can get a bit hostile. So we intend to have a member of Congress facilitate. So if you guys don't really, if you guys are not aware, but the student advocacy, the coordinator of student advocacy has a team. And so we are thinking we can have one of the person in the team facilitate the conversation. And if everything's get too heated up, then that person will be in charge of mediating, right? And we really think that this is a great initiative because it facilitates open-minded conversation to finally find a solution that is common to the teacher and the students, because teachers are on our side too. It's not one versus the other. Thanks.
Thank you. Neil has a question.
So I want to ask this to Adam, Anne, and Param split. So you guys talk about transparency, which we also talk about, but I want to know what you've been in Congress for 6 to 7 months, and never has it been brought up, or at least in the minutes, it's never been brought up that you guys mention transparency, and it has been a promise that past Congress elections have been asking, but you've not. How do we know that you're not just going to repeat the same thing that they've done in the past, where you just promise and then you just don't do anything, and next year they're going to do the same promises, just an endless cycle of promises? Why, how do we know for certain that you're going to do it, and how can people trust you and that you will actually take measures to bring the transparency to people?
Thank you so much, Neil, for giving us this opportunity to speak. So obviously, we had very different positions in Congress. So we had very different mandates, and we were not president or vice president or secretary. So that is the role of keeping the minutes and also of posting updates on the MSU. And there have been, regular updates about budgets and also about Congress activities on the MSU Facebook page. So I don't think that the issue is necessarily the malevolence or lack of transparency of the Congress team, but rather the platform that has been used. And so that is why we are turning towards the website, because that is accessible to all. And it's also a platform that already conveniently exists, so that we can ensure that we can be efficient as soon as possible, and that the framework is already there and we can make major improvements that will make a big difference on the website. Thank you so much for your question.
And I will add quickly here that how can people trust us? Well, I think past actions speak more than any other things that we can say right now. The things that Anne promised and I promised have been done in the past. So you guys can be rest assured that the same mentality will be put forward.
Thank you. Next will be the last round of questions. The order is Anne, Pratham, and Neil. So Anne.
Thank you so much. So my question is directed to Fei Yang. Hi, Fei Yang. So you mentioned in your platform that you have an idea that it's to ensure that there is no under or over budget surplus for clubs, which is well, it's the vice president's mandate. But how do you plan on making this happen? Because that's a big issue that we are all agreeing upon today. And what is your plan to meet this goal? Thank you.
I think my plans are clear, and we want club to submit their budget first, and we need to create a new account for club budgets to allocate where we seeing there's big clubs that have over budget and small clubs doesn't have enough budgets. We need to have a flexible account where, hey, small clubs need budgets. Here, use the account that we have, and you can move forward with your activities. That's what I'm talking about, adaptability within my campaign, and that's my promises, is to have a flexible account for small clubs to use, and for big clubs who have surplus, they can give in for small clubs to create more opportunities for activity to continue. I hope that answered your question, Anne. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Pratham.
Thank you, Suen. So this question is going to be addressed at Holly and Neil. So first of all, you guys address mental health, and we do too. It is a pressing issue for the students at Marinopolis. Now, my concerns are regarding the first activity that you guys, or not activity, but first plan that you guys intend on doing, the mindfulness workshops, right, with every class. And I've read that you guys think of forming teachers for doing these activities. Now, my issue is how, first of all, can you ensure that teachers are adequately equipped to do these mindfulness workshops? And second of all, what are the success metrics that you guys are following, and how can you be sure that how can you put the teacher accountable for giving these mindfulness workshops? Because we all know that teachers have super packed curriculum to teach to students, and so they might not have this extra time.
Okay, first of all, the whole thing about teachers being formed and trained to give these workshops or whatever, when I say that, it's really just a matter of being cost effective as well, because ultimately it's great to bring like a psychologist in and give a huge lecture to people and teach them about mindfulness, right? And see, that's good, but also mindfulness is easy to practice on your own as well. It's part of cognitive behavior therapy, where like therapists will talk to their patients about this, and then their patients can do this on their own time once they know the basis of it. So it's really also all about like having someone come in, give us a base, and then maintaining these habits throughout the school, right? I had this in my elementary school. It really worked for us. Like, we would take a little bit of time before exams to do this. We would stop when things were getting too heated. There's a whole procedure to follow. And there's so many like tutorials online. There's so many ways to be resourceful. And this is really something that's super simple to implement and that won't cost a lot. And, it's just, it's all about budget at the end of the day too. So yeah.
Thank you. And we have one last question from Neil.
So I just want to get back to my previous question, and like Anne mentioned transparency from Congress and updates. I would like to know what transparency you're talking about. I can't find this semester or last semester's budget on the webpage. All I can see is from last winter. I can see this semester's budget because I'm an exec. And from what I'm being told, it's kind of out of date, which I'm sorry, how is that transparent? Next, minutes. I'm sorry, it's not been updated since March 8th, and March 8th you updated till February 4th. What form of transparency is this? How am I supposed to, like, how as a student am I supposed to trust Congress is doing something that like is useful for me and not just wasting my time? Not to mention that I'm paying $25 each, and that's about around 50,000 when you account for all students. I'm sorry, I want to know where all that money is going.
Thank you, Neil. And I can see why you're frustrated, but at the end of the day, it's we are in Congress, but we have to keep in mind that it's not Anne's nor my mandate to be in charge of these things. But rest assured, I will bring up these concerns on our next Congress meeting to the adequate person, and we will incite the adequate person to update the website so that everybody is up to date with the information, because it is one of our core values of Congress to be transparent. But
And as
thank
I
you for
said, it
reading.
has also been posted on Facebook group. So our president, Loris Liang, does regular posts on there. It's just that because of the algorithm, they don't always show up. We would also appreciate a less aggressive attitude on your part, since I think that all our teams agree on the same issues. And overall, it is not, the goal of this debate is not to dismantle the current Congress team and their hard work, but more to look towards the future and how you and us, we can improve it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and that concludes the candidate Q&A session. We will now have the audience Q&A period. I will be taking questions submitted from the Google form. What Google form? For those of you watching at home, you can still send in your questions through the Facebook comment section. Candidates, okay, they can be directed at candidates or slates. Candidates will have 45 seconds to answer, and slates will have 60 seconds. Let me just find them. All right.
And there's some people. Where can they find the Google form? Is it posted on the Facebook? Since I've had a message that just came, they're asking where the Google form would be found.
I think we've stopped looking at the Google Forms for now. Please submit your questions on the Facebook stream comment section. Now we have a question for all the candidates. You will each have 45 seconds to answer. In the past, candidates have made various alluring commitments, such as free emergency medical care and club purchases, artificial intelligence, large amounts of exclusive student discounts, and real-time student concern tracking, just to name a few, but have subsequently failed to deliver on these promises. What will you do to make sure that this does not happen in your term in order to preserve the integrity of the system? So again, you have 45 seconds to answer, and we're going in alphabetical order this time. Anne?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this question. And Pratham and I have both proven that we've respected everything that we promised in our campaigns. And in fact, I had run for charities and volunteering, and I still went through with all the ideas that I had proposed: partnership with Les Impatients, circles for reconciliation. And then I also added in more initiatives, such as the GNL Gazoduc Research and Activism Project. So these are all things that we have carried out to fruition and to success together. Pratham also can speak about his own initiatives and his promises, but we have proven in the past that we are a hardworking team and that we respect our promises. And also our platform is super realistic. We know the resource person to contact on the campus, and we've already reached out to them prior to making our campaign. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, Neil.
So like I know there's people that make big promises, and like I get they want to do like very they want to do something that can change really much, but like we also believe that we should do like small projects. Like that's why we don't have like we have plans, yes, that's true, but like we also have like smaller plans, because it's not just about us. Like we come up with ideas, but that's just because like we're trying to get elected right now. But like we're here to represent the people, like the MSU, and like to represent every student. So like we're doing small plans, but if anyone has like bigger plans, like I'm down to, like I'm open to any suggestion. Like I'm here for you. And if you have like, I'm not here for an ego trip, right? Like I'm not going to Congress to like boost my ego, to boost my CV. Like if I believe that I'm not doing my good job, like I'm not keeping up with my promise, I will for sure step down. Like I don't care. Like it's not there for me to boost my ego.
It's me. Sorry, did you say Holly?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, you were muted. Anyways,
Oh,
I
sorry.
really feel as if it's okay. I really feel as if like in order for promises to go through and for people to be super enthusiastic about the causes that the projects that we want to put forward, it's so important to have really good communication with the entire student body. And like, we're not going to pretend to know what you want. You know, we have a base of ideas right now, like Neil said, that we've kind of come up with because of the experience that we've had with so many people and so many thoughts and ideas that have come in. You know, this is what we have to offer you. But you can also tell us like, what do you want us to prioritize? What do you want us to go forward with, right? And it's also about being transparent about the negotiations that happen too. Like we have to tell people what does not work, why it's not working, and maybe what can work instead. It's really all about being transparent and communicating very well.
Thank you. Pratham?
Yeah, so fake promises. There's nothing worse than as a student electing someone and then the person does not accomplish what he has to do. But rest assured, Anne and I have elaborated our platform meticulously, and we have, as Anne just mentioned, we discussed about it with ourselves for a while, and we discussed about it with key people at school and the administration. So all our ideas are feasible to the core, and we will help. We will hold ourselves accountable. That's a quality that I have, and that's a quality that I can assure Anne has too. When we say something, we'll bust our ass to do it, but we will get it done. Thank you.
That was very nice, though I will have to ask that we keep a nice quality of language. Fei Yang?
I think for the only independent candidate here, I myself has been put on spotlight. Everything I do, everything I say has been looked forward and being seen by the overall general merit student body of people. That means that everything I do need to be held accountable. That's why my plan came forward with. It's more pragmatic. It's pressing down to the core of students' demands, and I'm here to fulfill them. I don't want to make any baloney a campaign promise that could not ever be fulfilled. I'm here to solve problem. I'm here to fix things. I'm not here to talk about fancy things. I'm not here to write a novel. I'm not here to address other issues that it's not related to Congress.
Thank you. Next, we have a question for Holly and Neil. You have 60 seconds to answer it. One of our current Congress members, one of our current Congress members asked a question. I'm wondering what Neil and Holly mean by there is a lack of communication between Congress and students when there are MWR articles every week, minutes on the Congress websites for every meeting, posts made monthly to give updates about the COVID-19 situation, office hours for students to ask their questions, town halls, and so much more.
Okay, so I'd like to start about that. All right, so first of all, I love the work that like UC1 and like Roma are doing with MWR, but Congress shouldn't have a third party keeping track of what they're doing. They should have their own like way of showing. And you're saying minutes. I'm sorry. Again, I'm going to say this again. I go on minutes. I look at the minutes. I'm sorry. The last update was from March 8th on February 4th. And also transparency. There's no budget. Like, what do you mean? Like you're being transparent? Like, yeah, there's communication, but like it's once a month. Like, and then like it's on Facebook, and then there's some other things that come up. Like, then how am I supposed to know what's happening? I don't see what's happening. I can't see it. Like you're saying, I don't know. Like there's a huge lack of communication. Like not to mention sometimes some Congress people are very like slow when it comes to responding to messages. And Holly, sorry.
Yeah, it's just, I want to say too that I respect Congress members and I respect what they do. It's hard to manage online school and being a Congress member as well. However, there is a bit of an issue in the delivery of all of this information. And this is kind of like what we want to improve on too. So like, I respect the efforts that are being done. It's just, things can be improved on. Like, let's not kid ourselves, You're muted once again.
Thank you. Anne wanted to say something?
Yes, thank you so much, Suen. So on the website, we have a tab that's called Archives, which is pretty clear. It's at the top of the page, and we have our Constitution, which is updated every GA, the minutes for our meetings, the budget allocation screenshots of all the spreadsheet that our VPF Finance Emmanuel brings together. And so I do believe that the resources are there if people go on the website, and it's very clear. So we hope that this can help you, Neil, find what you're looking for next time you go searching for it. Thank you so much.
Okay, Siwan, can I please add something?
I'll give you 10 seconds. Go ahead.
All right, I'm sorry. That's where I'm coming from. It's not been updated on that page, nor has the budget been updated. It's not been updated since winter 2020. So please don't tell me it's been updated by Tristan or whoever is running the minutes. I'm sorry, it's not been updated. Thank you, sorry.
All right, we have a question for Fei Yang. You will have 45 seconds to answer this one. So your campaign is unusually centered around preventing racism and discrimination, which can be peripherally related to improving student life at best. In contrast, the primary focus of both Pratham and Holly's campaigns are the students and their well-being. How do you justify not prioritizing the issues that are afflicting the very individuals whom you are trying to convince to vote for you?
I think they haven't looked my campaign deeply. My why not initiative, the not part is normalize our thoughts. I specifically mentioned about wellness day and various of activity that will engage students in the repairment of the mental health issues. I also addressed that in my first campaign videos. So I encourage them to look deeply into my campaign in these perspective that I'm not just caring about race, but I think race issues are matters the most to me, and bringing equality is the key element that we all should respect. But as well as I'm respecting students for mental health, as I mentioned in the Bromar's interview yesterday, I specifically listed mental health as the top issues to focus on. So I encourage people to look at it. Thank you.
Thank you. A question for Pratham and Anne. The person would like to know what events will be put in place in order to appeal to everyone and not just a select few. I know for a fact that most people, including myself, referring to the person, were not affected by these events because we didn't find them appealing. Furthermore, the only events that happened bringing everyone together were organized by the college, and there were two, unless I missed a major event, in which case it was poorly advertised. Anlin and Pratham plan on organizing to make everyone come together in a safe way and in a way that appeals to everyone, not just the ones who have more ease talking to others or making friends. You have 60 seconds to answer this.
Thank you, Siwan, and thanks the person that asked this question. So I would first start by saying, if Anne and I are elected, the first thing we will do is to really assess everybody's needs. Yes, we have our ideas, but at the end of the day, the issues that we've found might not be the same as next semester, and so we will assure the student body that before doing anything, we will assess the problems. And so for people that do not have that have less ease talking and making new friends, well, we have great initiatives for you guys too. We have the Tinder for Skills event, where if you have a pretty good skill, then we can pair you up with another person, and then it's not like a group of other people that you're supposed to talk with. It's only another person. And the Marinopolis alumni get together. It could be a great activity for you too if you're interested into a professional path.
Absolutely. And the two events that you mentioned, I'm supposing the Welcome Back event, have been organized by Congress. They reached out to 200 people, and of course, we're planning on continuing the tradition. And as well, there are talks about like having a welcome back with alumni as well, and also with a scavenger hunt inside the college so that you can discover your school before a transition to in-person. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is actually directed to all candidates and is in French. So, à quiconque veut répondre. Personnellement, à Marianopolis, j'ai vu plusieurs fois une certaine haine envers le français. La majorité des gens que je connais ont choisi un cégep en anglais afin d'éviter de devoir utiliser le français. Vous avez tous dit qu'on peut demander de l'aide aux autres élèves. Pendant cette pandémie, clairement, ce n'était pas une façon viable et je ne vois pas ce que vous voulez que nous demandons. Le problème est que le français a une position si basse dans le cœur des étudiants. Il y a un manque incroyable d'événements en français. De quelle façon allez-vous incorporer la culture québécoise dans le collège? As usual, you have 45 seconds to answer, and this time we can go in reverse alphabetic order. Fei Yang, you can answer in English, it's okay.
I think c'est dans le Québec, on va vers Québec, mais on va vers français ici, mais je respecte la culture de québécoise. Also, it's English school, so there is a certain levels of Englishness in English CJEP should have, but I'm not saying that we should totally exclude French cultures. This is what we are. We're in Quebec. We should respect that. C'est la Quebec. C'est la Quebec, and we should keep that going, and we should protect Quebec culture in a certain way. Because I honestly, as an Anglophone, I feel like Quebec culture is losing, and we should, in a greater extent, to protect that.
Thank you. Pratham?
Certes, il y a peut-être une tranche de la population qui ne veut pas parler le français, et qui est vraiment qui est contre l'idée de parler cette langue, mais il faut se rappeler que 60% des personnes qui viennent à Marianopolis viennent d'une école française, comme moi, et comme beaucoup de personnes dans le conseil d'étudiants, si je peux élaborer. Et puis, une des façons qu'on peut promouvoir la culture québécoise, c'est d'avoir des activités en collaboration avec des cégeps français. En tête, ce qui me vient, c'est le cégep, le collège Jean Brébeuf. C'est le même, on a le même type de population, et il faut faire des idées que tout le monde, français, anglais ou français, la langue ne doit pas être une barrière à franchir, puisque à la fin du jour, on est tous pareils. Merci.
Merci. Holly?
Ben oui,
moi-
à vrai dire, moi aussi, ça me manque un peu cette culture québécoise que j'ai vraiment beaucoup eu l'expérience de voir dans mon école de Regina Assumpta, tu sais. Puis, je vous crois, je vous entends, parce que moi aussi, j'ai vu un peu de la même chose. Puis, je pense que c'est très important de comme, collaborer avec des profs de français aussi pour faire des événements peut-être en français, peut-être avoir des clubs en français aussi. Ça aurait été une possibilité. Ou bien avoir vraiment comme un groupe de soutien, en fait, pour des élèves francophones ou des élèves qui se sont venus d'un secondaire francophone pour avoir une petite communauté, parce que je pense que nous sommes plus nombreuses que l'on pense. Puis, c'est vraiment important d'avoir cet esprit communautaire. Puis aussi de promouvoir notre culture envers les anglophones, puis envers les personnes qui ne connaissent pas très bien la culture francophone. Fait que c'est ça.
Merci. Neil?
Je veux juste dire, comme, je me rappelle, dernière élection fédérale, comme, moi et mes amis, chaque fois que le bloc gagnait, on était comme hyper fiers. On était comme, même si, comme, moi je suis pas né ici, mais comme, j'ai tout appris au Québec. Ouais. Je suis quand même fier d'être un Québécois. Donc moi, j'aime la culture québécoise, et je crois bien, comme, tu as raison, comme, on a besoin de supporter la culture québécoise, et comme, si on devrait faire des activités, et si tu as des idées, comme, envoie-moi un message, comme, je suis toujours libre, et comme, on est prêt à prendre de nouvelles idées, comme des activités qui seront bonnes pour toi ou pour les autres Québécois. Et on peut peut-être inviter des personnes importantes comme la culture québécoise. Merci.
You're muted.
Yeah, you're muted, sorry.
Sorry. Et Anne?
Thank you so much, Surin. À la personne qui a posé cette question, mon cœur va vers toi, parce que j'avais les mêmes interrogations quand je suis venue à Marianopolis, parce que je venais d'un collège français, d'un francophone. Alors, pour moi, c'était aussi de savoir quelles étaient les ressources disponibles sur le campus pour me permettre de m'améliorer dans mon anglais, de suivre mes études. Et donc, ce dont je te parlais, c'était que, dans le fond, il y a un Writing Center. Donc, la personne en charge, c'est Madame Suzanne Danningsberg. Et donc, elle coordonne ce centre-là pour aider les élèves francophones à parler mieux l'anglais. Puis il y a aussi un système de tutorat au collège pour les cours spécifiques de français, chaque cours de français. Donc ça, c'est toutes des ressources que nous voulons promouvoir sur le site web du MSU. Et puis, lorsqu'il en vient à promouvoir la culture québécoise locale, bien sûr, des initiatives en collaboration avec d'autres cégeps qui font découvrir notre ville, Montréal, notre métropole culturelle, par exemple, des chasses au trésor, des scavenger hunts au travers de la ville, etc. Merci beaucoup.
Merci. All right, next question is directed towards Fei Yang. It was asked by Baichao Chen, who wants to be called Egg Chungus. I'm sorry, dude. All right, Fei Yang. What do you mean by minority group rights? Aren't those supposed to be universal rights for everyone equally? Doesn't providing special treatment or service from certain people end up marginalizing others? Why not just provide the same service to the whole student body instead of focusing on a specific ethnic group or minority? You have 45 seconds.
Again, I feel like it's a very good question, but also in a sense that you should ask yourself that isn't French a minority within Canada itself? Ask that question yourself and take a reflection on that. We need to respect minority rights in a certain degrees that we're not in the sense that we're giving them more support, but not in the sense that will bring everyone down. The term here we're using is equality. It's we have a starting line for everybody, not to bring up levels of racial group to and lower and not another one. That is not my campaign focus. My campaign focus is equality for everybody. So I want you to take a reflection of that and re-examine your look on my campaign promises. Thank you.
Thank you. Just give me a second. The next question is directed to Holly and Neil. Misha asks, how can Holly and Neil ensure credibility in anonymous or less thorough petition guidelines as administrators require those for consideration?
Okay, yeah, I understand that like the whole anonymity thing is not including petitions because I do understand that there is a certain format that has to be followed for this credibility when you bring up a petition to the place. However, when it comes to complaints and everything like that, I mean, do they really have to have a name attached to them? It's like if the sentiment echoes everybody and like, you know, it's still very valid. I'm getting multiple of the same kinds of complaints or whatever, like that can be totally anonymous. That doesn't really affect petitions because I understand that there's a certain format to follow that everyone knows that. It's just more like the whole style of complaints in general. It's like there has to be that kind of like confidence that they have in us that, you know, they could voice their concerns because yes, there is conflict of interest sometimes, you know? Neil?
Yeah, like the reason like we say the anonymous is mostly just like we don't want like teachers to like start like hating you. Like if you have a complaint to teachers, we don't want them to start like having like a negative eye to you and like just start like being harsh on you just because you're trying to criticize them and trying to like help improve other people.
Thank you. One question from Jesse to Pratham and Anne. Concerning Tinder for Skills, in what way is your program different from hiring someone online to do a job? You explained that it is a tool for socializing, but the details seem to describe it as some sort of job hiring site. In what way are you going to incentivize students to use your platform? Will students be paid for using it, or will I be finding something better by going on Fiverr?
Hello, Jess, and thank you so much for your question. So the main goal of this platform that we came up with is to foster community. And so to share the skills that we have at Marinopolis, we have extremely talented people. And knowing that you can have contact with someone, one of your peers, rather than, you could sure take courses online and they might be more expensive and they might not give you this kind of peer contact and networking and friendship that we want to foster at Marinopolis. Ultimately, this is to create the sense of community that we help each other at Marinopolis. We share our skills. I teach you painting. Please teach me how to make a website. Teach me basic coding, stuff like that. Pratham?
And to precise, it's not like a job hiring website because it goes both ways, right? We're not obliging anyone of you guys to sign up. No. So if you sign up, you should be expected to be paired up and work with the other students to a common goal, a common initiative. So once you guys are paired up, we expect you guys to discuss the project, and if both parties are all right with it, then you guys can continue doing whatever you guys want. Imagine like I'm a singer and Anne is a bio editor, and we can pair up and then we can make more
Excuse me.
content. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. It's almost 9. The debate is almost over, so we will have one last question directed to all candidates. Again, you have 45 seconds to answer it each. So, a question from Yannick in French. C'est pas un secret qu'une grande partie des clubs de Marianopolis voient peu ou pas d'activité. Quel effet est-ce que le manque chronique de financement a sur la vie étudiante qui est pourtant vantée par l'administration? You can answer that in English or French. Pratham and Anne, actually, Pratham.
Merci Yannick pour cette question. Donc, je suis de l'opinion que la source du problème pour le manque d'activité dans les deux dernières sessions qu'on a eues, c'est à cause du fait que les cours sont en ligne. Parce que je me suis fait dire par les deuxièmes années qu'à chaque fois qu'il y a la période d'activité, soit le mardi ou le jeudi, il y a beaucoup d'étudiants qui participent aux activités. Et donc, ce n'est pas vraiment le manque de financement chronique qui affecte la vie étudiante, mais plutôt avec les circonstances qu'on a avec la pandémie, ça a pris un grand choc et c'est ça pourquoi on doit s'adapter. Merci.
Merci. Anne?
Merci Nick pour ta question et puis j'entends tout de suite tes préoccupations et puis je pense qu'il y a des moyens d'augmenter le budget donné au club. Puis ça, c'est quelque chose sur lequel on veut travailler. C'est quelque chose que j'ai ramené aux discussions du congrès régulièrement. Puis j'espère qu'on pourra le faire l'année prochaine. Mais c'est sûr aussi qu'évidemment, il y a la situation des cours en ligne, à distance. Puis en fait, il y a aussi des activités qui s'organisent mais qui ne sont pas promues, qui ne sont pas visibles sur le site Facebook, le groupe Facebook du collège. C'est pour ça que nous, on veut vraiment créer un calendrier de chaque mois qui donne en avance l'opportunité aux gens de voir quelles sont les différentes activités. On veut aussi intégrer une fonction pour que les personnes consultant le calendrier puissent filtrer les différentes activités en fonction des clubs qui organisent les activités ou bien du type d'activité, par exemple des activités d'activisme social ou de bénévolat, des choses comme ça. Donc voilà, c'est ça nos idées, notre plateforme. Merci beaucoup.
Merci. Et prochain, Féan?
Je pense que c'est une bonne question. Yannick, I think, yeah, there is a problem with the lacking of fundings, and that is why I am pushing for a balanced budget for all clubs, as I mentioned previously, where they have a share account for clubs where they have surplus, they'll put in money, where clubs that it's in need of money, they will take from them to reduce this problem greater, so we don't have a chronic lack of funding for clubs. What I see.
Thank you. Holly?
Yes. OK. Ben, bien sûr, Yannick, je te comprends à 100%. Le problème, c'est parce que on a déjà beaucoup d'argent investi dans les clubs. On peut le voir dans le budget qui est sur le site web de MSU. Par contre, je crois qu'il y a un peu de favoritisme qui se passe avec les clubs qui sont peut-être plus rétablis dans, dans notre vie étudiante et tout. Sauf qu'il faut donner la chance un peu aux clubs qui viennent de naître ou comme qui répondent aux intérêts un peu plus récents et tout. Vous savez, fait que je crois que c'est aussi un problème de visibilité. Il y a pas aussi assez de visibilité pour tous les membres de club, puis c'est pour ça qu'on va faire l'application et tout. Puis c'est vraiment, il faut être juste avec tout le monde, puis juste avec l'argent qu'on dépense et où on le dépense partout. Fait que c'est ça.
Merci. Et Neil?
Bon, je sais comme la plupart des clubs durant la pandémie, ils n'ont pas d'activité, je comprends bien, comme difficile à faire des affaires en ligne et habituellement comme étudiant en personne. Mais je vais comme essayer d'augmenter comme ce qu'on donne aux clubs. Comme on reçoit comme environ 50 000 chaque semestre et comme je ne sais pas où ça va. Et comme au moins si une des clubs ne reçoit pas plus d'argent, au moins, je veux savoir, je veux te dire, je veux dire à tout le monde comme ça va où et comme ça, ce qu'on fait avec l'argent. Et au moins, vous saurez comme, même si ça va pas à vos clubs, vous saurez comme, oh, ça va à une cause qui est comme, quand même bonne et comme qui aide les élèves en général. C'est tout. Merci.
Merci. And that concludes the audience Q&A session, as well as the debate for today. Thank you, candidates, and those of you tuning in at home for joining us today. I hope that you enjoyed this debate and hopefully are more informed about each candidate's platform. Candidates, best of luck for the remainder of your campaign. Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you, Siwan,
Thank
and
you
thank
so
you for
much.
people tuning
Thank you
in.
so
Thank
much,
you,
everyone.
everyone.
Take care, stay sane, and stay safe. And don't
Mhm.
forget to vote on Sunday.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Uh,
Oh, candidates.